Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Do I have my mouse here? Yes, I do. I have my mouse. I have a cup of coffee. This is not my first cup of coffee today, but it will be my last cup of coffee today. So cheers. This is a mustache cup. Of course, usually I try to drink out of my I Love Music Theory cup, but that one's at my office, so I'll have to suffice with this one. Of course, you can get that cup at my website. I'm waiting for people to trickle in here. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at some of Giuliani's picking patterns from his Opus 1, his 120 right-hand studies. He is a master from the past, most certainly. People study his music for a very, very good reason. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at it today. Looks like my cat and my dog are about to have a battle. We're going to take a look at it today. And, all right, Mr. Orlock, you're going out here. I sentence you to the dungeons. Just a second, everybody. Sorry about that. My cat's crazy. So, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking a look at Giuliani's right-hand finger-picking patterns. We're going to use them to warm up. And after we do that, hey Ton, how you doing? We're going to transform them to create our own finger-picking patterns. So, without further ado, I'm going to take a sip of this coffee. I'm going to get my guitar out. Looks like we've got some people on board now. Only my dog's inside, and she's very well behaved. My cat's the crazy one. Let's get this guitar out. Ooh. Coffee and guitar in the morning. What more could someone ask for? Okay, so here we go, guys. If we take a look, the first one, of course, we've got a treble clef here. I've got this positioned on the screen just so that you can see it. There's a treble clef. Of course, there are the repeat signs at the end. Now, what we need to do is we need to map out these notes first, and then I'm also going to ask you what are the chords that they're using, or that he's using, and that we will be using. So what we have here is two chords in the key of C major. Everything we're doing right now is in C major. Starting with the one chord, of course, C, E, and G. And if you'll take a look, those first notes there are the low C on the A, C on the first fret of the B, and your open E. The next notes, same two C and open E's, first of the B and open E, but then we got second fret of the D for the E, and then open G, and then we're going back to the A. So the pattern goes thumb, these stay the same. The thumb goes A string, D string, G string, A string. So we get bum, 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 bum. That's our one chord, the C chord. Now, if you're doing this on ukulele, try and just alternate the thumb between two strings, right? You can do your best to mimic this, but I don't know if the ukulele is going to have enough strings for this, but you can still just pick two chords. The transformation part of this for ukulele players is going to be very good. So stick with me if you're on another instrument as well. So next we have our B, D, F, open D, and open G, and down to B. So what we have there is our G7 chord, but it's in first inversion. So we have 1 and then 5-7, but that 5-7 is in first inversion because the B down there is in the bass, right? Very cool, Ton. Guitar and ukulele are very, very, very similar. So if you use your guitar, you can use these principles on ukulele as well. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're starting with our C major chord. We're going through with the finger picking pattern where the thumb alternates the strings, and then we switch to our G7 chord and then back to C. And do it nice and slow. So this is really some of my first playing of the day. And I just take these exercises very, very slowly. These are warm-ups we can do to get our fingers rolling, and then we'll get our brains rolling after that. And then at the end, you can just strum a C chord. So basically, repeat it as many times as you like. I'm going to repeat it a couple more times just to get my fingers rolling. You guys should get your guitars out and repeat it as well. So here we go. All right, cool. So there's our first pattern. The second pattern, there's 120 in this document, and I'll actually send the link out shortly. This is from the IMSLP. It's public domain, free for anyone. One of the best tools you guys have is the IMSLP, guys. Okay, so here we have these same chords. The whole point of this entire set of patterns is that we're taking the same chords and we're learning a multitude of finger picking patterns. So this morning what I'll do is I'll run you through these 3 that we have here on the screen. Sorry for my cat going crazy out there. That's probably going to happen a lot until I buy a house and put a studio in there. I can't do these from my office anymore because the hotspot, the data gets eaten up really quickly. So, but this one we're doing thumb, index, middle. So we did have our thumb and index and middle on the C and the high E before. Now we're just going to break them apart into triplets. But the thumb follows the same A string, D string, G string, A string rule, right? So we have now with this, it's really important to understand that before we were switching all the fingers at once because we were hitting them all at once. But if you watch when I switch, and I'm going to go slow, I go switch, 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 right? And that, if you can practice that really slowly and then slowly speed it up, that's how you get a switch to sound smooth. And these are very fun exercises because they're just, you know, little snippets of music. And you can try and bring up the bass line. So you notice he's marked these little things next to the bass line. So that tells you to actually, right, bring it out. Hey Angie, how you doing? Welcome to the live stream. I'm gonna have another sip of coffee here. I always hold my guitar away when I sip coffee. I suggest if you guys drink coffee and play guitar like I do, you get in the habit of holding the guitar away. Okay, so next we're going to move on to the thumb middle index pattern. So you notice that the second pattern on the screen there takes the first and just reverses those 2 fingers. So we have right, I kind of messed that. It's already in the morning, so so our pattern so far, we have the solid one, we have thumb, index, middle, we have thumb, middle, index. Next, this one's really cool. This one has kind of like a cascading effect. So it's a thumb, index, middle pattern. However, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving upwards. So we get thumb, index, middle on the A, D, and G strings. Drummer in the Park, I honestly couldn't tell you. These are very old scans. I've had a student ask that before. I can only guess at it. My thought is that that's how he labeled his fingerings, perhaps. But I might be wrong. I'm not sure. I think he's indicating index with the one dot and middle with the other. But this is an old. I mean, this scan is from, you know, 1800 or something like that. So. No, Ingy, I'm still finishing up some recording, so I don't have that stuff. Once I finish this project, I'm going to get heavy into that stuff. This is what we're going to be doing today is taking these Giuliani finger picking patterns, and we're going to play them to warm up, and then we're going to use some other chords and just kind of explore the key of C major and see what we can make with them. All right. Here we go, guys. We're going to do the next pattern. So what happens is the thumb starts, we have thumb, index, middle, and then thumb, index, middle on the next 3 strings, thumb, index, middle on the next 3 strings, and then the thumb moves back to the A. So we have... Right, so if you do it, and still pay attention to that bass line. This is how I start my practice session off, guys, a lot of the times. Most of the time I'll actually start with just these exercises, and we'll maybe get into those since this is a morning live cast for me. But oftentimes if I need something musical to get my hands working, these exercises work really, really great. So just to cover the ones that we did today, and then we're going to take a look at using some other chords. We do them all blocks. So the overall thumb pattern is A string, D string, G string, A string. So we get... Then we get thumb, index, middle. Then we get thumb, middle, index. Then we get thumb, index, middle, but with that cascading effect. And notice they all have a bass line where the... So really try to bring that bass line out. When this video is uploaded to YouTube, guys, I'll put the link to IMSLP here in the description. Remember, IMSLP is one of your best resources. You can find a lot of music off of that site. The wonderful thing is it's all public domain, so be sure to be careful about it because there might be errors here and there. Their errors checking wasn't as good back then, at least with some of this stuff. However, most of the sheet music you get is really, really great. And it's cool because it's like a little piece of history. You actually get the old scans. This is an old scan here. So let me guys know how you like these picking patterns. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a computer program that I use to write music on the screen called Sibelius. You might hear some music in the background. I've never brought up Sibelius in the middle of a live stream. I've had it opened beforehand, so I hope it doesn't crash anything, guys. Cut that audio for you guys. Sorry about that. I should have had this open before, but I was having breakfast with my wife and warming up on my guitar a little bit, so forgive me, guys. However, I'm going to make a score right here, right now, and we are going to create some finger picking patterns using the finger picking patterns on the screen. And to make this extra fun, I'm going to have you guys call out some Roman numerals for me, or some chords. So, this being in C major, I think it's a really good idea to make the first chord C. However, we can experiment with these finger picking patterns a little more freely. Where his bass line was an arpeggiation of the chord, I want to experiment with these picking patterns using scales. Let's see if we can actually just turn that into a scale, right? Why not? And actually what I'm going to do, I'm also going to change the time signature to 12/8. Less of a headache to write in triplets on the staff here. So we're going to do C, E, and then G. Now, if we're going to do a baseline here, right? We of course want to have. Let's take his C, C, and open E that he had up top there. So Tom Rafa says C, then G. Well, Tom, let's pick a different one because that we had C, then G7 with the last one. Actually, no, let's do that. But I want to experiment using scales for the baseline instead. So what we'll do is replace that E that we got with an open D. And we'll have C, E be the top two voices, the top two notes that we go to. And then I'm going to go F, because I like to overshoot notes, and I'm going to go back down to E. So let's see what this exercise has just become. Transformations are a lot of fun, guys. Whenever you play an exercise, step back and see how it was constructed and try and remake it a little bit. So here, if we turn it into a bass line, we have C, open D, right, and then F. So, right? That sounds not too bad. Now let's figure out what we're going to do for the G7 portion of it. Right, so we're going to still take the top two notes, but now we'll jump down to the B, D, F, and then what we're going to want is maybe an A down to a low G. Actually, let's change the B. And then back up to an A. Right? Here we go. So now, what I've done is I've taken that chord progression that we're picking through, I took pattern number 2, and instead of arpeggiating through chords, I said, why not take the C major scale and do a little bass line. So now what we have is, then and actually I made a mistake right here. Okay, so now we have C, D, F, E, B, and B, A, so. Right, and I'm not sure how I feel about that melody. I think I want to go E. I want to go backwards. So I want to go C, D, F, E, and then D, C, B, G. That's better. So we have right. And what I was thinking there is just not so many jumps, right? Just smooth out the bass line a little bit. But this would be a C major to a G major chord progression where you're actually. So let's write one together as a group. I'd like to change this bass line a little bit. We're going to keep the first note as C, but I'm going to ask you guys second note. The first person to type in what the second note should be, we're gonna give that a shot. So I'm going to give you guys a moment to catch up in the feed and then type in your answer. Give you guys a moment. And the quicker you guys type, the less of a pause you will get. But I want to experiment with the audience helping me out. Okay, Drummer in the Park says F. All right, now we're going for third note. Third note. If you guys are watching this after the live feed, feel free to skip forward maybe a minute or so. It takes a moment for the feed to catch up. And actually, I'm going to pick the next note. It's going to go E, but whatever you guys put in the chat next is going to be the next note that we use. All right, there's no notes in the chat, so I'm picking D. You guys should speak up, please. Okay, so we're starting with C, jumping to an F. That's kind of cool. So we have I'm sorry. I like that. Okay. Now, how do we get that same idea, but apply the other finger picking patterns to it? Again, you can get the Giuliani 120 studies on the IMSLP, which is one of the best. Let's use this reverse pattern. And why don't we actually use the reverse pattern only for the first two beats of the measures? That kind of has a cool shape to it, right? So now we have, we're going reverse and then, right, and then, all right, so do this one slow. I always do all my first patterns slow. Right, just do it a few times through, just really, really slow. That's how you're supposed to learn something new, right? So we get and something else we can do to transform it, because why not, is to change some of these notes in here, right? So why not, since we have E and C, why not change this to a G, because we already have the E. You see what I'm saying? So what you can get is, right, so we get ba 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 ba. I like that bum 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 and then bum bum bum. So why not here do an open E here, and then when we go down to the C, then bring in the F, so we get, right, and then we gotta go forward after that. So overall what we get is, and then, so, just go through it really, really, really slowly. So Ton asked, why are some notes upside down? And actually, Ton, I wouldn't even notate it. If I had time to really take care to notate this, and you guys will see more of my notation where I have a little time to do it in the future, I would actually have all the bass notes have their own note value and voicing, and the ones above, so that there'd actually be a separation of stems. So don't worry too much about that yet, Ton. Again, the time is very close to where I can put a little more effort into preparing the live streams. Right now, I'm just kind of getting online and showing you guys stuff. So let's just say I wouldn't normally notate something like this. I don't know about that G here. It seems a little out of place. Unless we put a G up here and then, but that just, I don't know, that just seems a little. There. What if we had doesn't matter. So that's how you take an exercise, which you can find for free on the MSLP, and goof off with the chord progression a little bit to create your own finger picking patterns. Let's look at a couple more of these. These are really fun. I'm going to put I'm going to put the link here in the chat. You guys can get the file there for free. It's public domain. So next we have the reverse of the cascading effect. We have he's asking you to but I like to actually accent the first note still. And then we have the reverse, but the bass still climbs. Right, so we get thumb, middle, index. And this time, when the thumb comes back down, everything else comes back down with it. Have some notes that are split apart. You notice these are all C, E, and G, C, E, and G, G, B, D, F, G, B, D, F. So what we have right, so I'm going to do some individual videos on these. But I just wanted to run you guys through a few of these so you can warm up with me. And we also did a little bit of a music theory exercise where we just changed the bass. We picked some other notes to put in there. And I'm going to give you guys a few minutes to ask me questions, and then I have to take care of some work. So, guys, send me some questions down there in the chat. I'm going to give you a minute or so. If no questions come in, then I'm going to go ahead and get to work. I have plenty to do, trust me. Let me pull up, let's see. Okay, here's a better link, guys. So, sorry, Drummer in the Park said that the link was bad, so I'm gonna send you the link right there. I'm pretty sure that link works. All right, guys. Give me another question if you like. Otherwise, I will be off for the day. For those of you just joining in now, today we took a look at some of Mauro Giuliani's 120 right-hand studies. We did a quick transformation of one so that I could show you how to do some of these chord transformations, things like that, um, and use your regular exercises in a way that make you learn music theory. So it looks like there aren't many questions, so I'm going to get running for the day, guys. Expect these live streams to be a little bit longer here in the very near future. For now, I just wanted to give you guys a good tip on how I warm up, and then how I also kind of give myself a little bit of a creative outlet during that warm up sometimes, which is write a new bass line for my finger picking pattern, see how I can figure it out. So Tom Rafa asked what kind of Sibelius this is. I think it's Sibelius 7. The version that I have is Sibelius 7. Also, here's another piece of information, guys. I'm actually going to be getting on my website to do a little work on the members area there. I've decided that I don't really like the Facebook group. I'm going to just put a private forum up for us and probably delete all the Facebook stuff into my business. It sucks too much time up. Facebook, I don't know. I'm not too big on Facebook. So I'm going to shut that down and detach it from my business and set up a private forum on the back end of my website for all of my donating members. Of course, you guys can find donations or the link to become a paid member of my website down below. There's going to be a lot of PDFs and stuff coming your way, guys. I have to go finish a couple of these for my upcoming book. I just need to record them. But in the interest of getting the highest quality of recording, I'm putting enough time in to make sure that it sounds good. So guys, have an awesome day. I will be back here tomorrow. Have a good one.